Hello, and welcome to On the Pitch, a Missouri soccer podcast and your home for all things Missouri soccer. I'm your host, Bridger Pretz, and I'll be bringing you the latest news, match analysis, interviews, and stories from every corner of the Missouri and American soccer scene. Whether you're up in St. Louis, Kansas City, Columbia, or anywhere in the Show Me State, this is where Missouri soccer lives. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the On the Pitch podcast with my guest, Robb, the head women's soccer coach at Columbia College. Lauren, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew whenever I saw that you got the Columbia College job that I was super excited. I had to make sure I get you on because I knew you whenever you were at William Woods University, and you were there for how long were you at William Woods for?
I was at William Woods for 7 years.
Wow, 7 seasons. And then now you've taken the step up. I mean, in my opinion, step up to the Columbia College gig after John Klein had been there for so long. What does it mean to you to take over a program after somebody who's been there for so long?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some pressure there, or big shoes to fill, as you would say. But I think the history of it is like really, really exciting to me. The talent level that we have here and that we can get is just really exciting. So yeah, there's a little bit of pressure, but I think more so a lot of excitement with it.
Yeah. So obviously, before we go too much into, coaching and things like that, tell us a little bit about your playing career. Like, where'd you go to high school? Where'd you go to college?
I'm from Columbia, so that's nice being here and coaching in the town I completely grew up in. Was born in, was here all through high school. I played at Hickman High School, and then from there I played at Central Methodist in Fayette, so I really didn't go far. Just really used to like the Central Missouri playing, the people here, so it was a pretty easy choice for me to go to CMU, and I really enjoyed my playing time there. I think there's kind of a level for everyone, and me being at CMU, like I played a lot of soccer, and that was really important to me. And I'm still really close with the coach there and other people there. So it's made a really good lasting impression with me.
So when you were looking at college choices, your main focus was more about getting playing time than really, what division they were in or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. Like I just knew, I mean, all growing up, like the club I played for through high school, like I was someone that I did play and I wanted to make an impact, and I wanted to continue that through college. I think I say like back then, but gosh, that was almost, I'll age myself a little. Like 18 years ago,
Wow.
I was 18. So I think the recruiting process back then was a lot different. And I didn't have all the skills that I probably wish I have now, obviously as a college coach, but like just in general. And so I didn't really look. It was pretty much I was going to play at CMU, or I was probably just going to go to a bigger school and be a student. So it wasn't, I probably didn't go through the process like I should have, but yeah, it all worked out, and it was important to me to be on a team that I was going to play. Like, I think if I would have gone to CMU and I wasn't playing, I would have left.
Yeah. Because really kind of soccer is what kind of kept you there, or that was your main focus of being there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely the reason.
Yeah. What was that recruiting process like whenever you were going through, like you said, 18 years ago? I was going through it about, now that I think about it, it's 2025. That was 15 years ago when I started high school. So I'm just trying to think about, like, what was the recruiting process like for you whenever you were going through it?
Yeah, it was just like I said, like, I didn't have any experience in it. It was probably kind of late to the game that I really thought like, yeah, I do want to play in college. I do remember like in club season getting a lot of things in the mail. Like you didn't get text messages or phone calls or even emails that I think I remember. Like I just remember getting a lot of letters and like pamphlets and brochures and stuff. But yeah, I think knowing, like I said, I don't think I really talked to any other soccer coach. I think maybe one school out in Colorado. My
Mm-hmm.
family, we grew up like skiing and snowboarding. So I think that was like, I was like, oh my God, like I could go out in
Yeah.
Colorado. And then when it came down to it, I was like, yeah, I'm not going 12
Yeah.
hours away from home.
Yeah.
But yeah, a big part of it was my dad was the assistant athletic director at CMU. So that obviously helped with some costs. So I think that's
Mm-hmm.
why CMU was kind of number one
Mm-hmm.
on my list to play there. I got along with the coach really well, Dan Schmidlin. His first year of coaching was my first year as a freshman. So we kind of like went through that process together.
Okay.
Um,
And he's still
but
there,
yeah,
right?
yes, he's still there.
Yeah. Okay. So, that's obviously going to be really cool because you've played CMU the last couple of years, right? When you're
We played
coaching
him
against
every
them.
year when I was at
Yeah.
William Woods.
So, what does that feel like coaching against your old college coach? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I have, like I said, a very good relationship with him. He's probably my biggest like mentor in the coaching world. My
Mm-hmm.
very first game at William Woods as a head coach was against CMU. So it was kind of really
Mm-hmm.
cool, like full circle moment.
Yeah.
Obviously, they are a very, very good team.
Mm-hmm.
We would purposely play them like very beginning of our schedule. I always said like maybe some of the international players won't be cleared yet, or like they won't be ready to go. But yeah, just having such a good relationship with him, it's never been like a bad game or a dirty
Mm-hmm.
game or
Mm-hmm.
things being yelled. Like just really, there's a lot of respect there, and I know he's been really proud of me like through my career. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been a great relationship, and we're not playing them this year at Columbia, but probably in the future we
Yeah.
will start playing them.
Yeah. And so obviously after you finish your playing career, you decide, what you're going to do with afterwards. What made you want to go into coaching? What motivated you to stick with the game and look at this as an actual career? What
Yeah.
was it?
I didn't know right away. Um, I did know that soccer like played a huge part in my life. Like it was very easy for me to tell people that I was like so happy playing soccer. Like it was
Mhm.
kind of very much an outlet for me of, like shutting everything off when you're playing soccer. Like, whether it was like school or classes or just,
Mhm.
you know,
Just
any like
drama. Yeah.
outside, yeah, any outside noise, like was not there playing soccer. Even like just training and practice games, like I loved every part of it. Like um, I never hated practice. Like obviously sometimes if it was like a ton of sprints or something, that's never fun. But like I always enjoyed that part of my day. Like it's always what I looked
Mhm.
forward to. So I actually went to school for athletic training, and that's what I thought I was going to do. And
Okay.
that was the plan. I was supposed to go down to Arkansas State and be an assistant, like athletic trainer graduate student.
Mhm.
And I did not pass that test. So sometimes
Oh, wow.
failure shifts you and helps you go other places. So that's kind of what
Oh, yeah.
happened. And I was just like, well, what else can I do? Like, what else do
Mhm.
I like? And like soccer was literally like the only thing. So I
Mhm.
went to Dan at CMU and I was like, hey, like I'm not going down to Arkansas. Like, can you help me? I want to be a GA for soccer somewhere instead of going the athletic
Mhm.
training route. So, and this was late. This was like July, probably after my senior year. So kind of trying to figure
Oh,
that
wow.
out. Um, I had some interviews at like some bigger schools to be GAs for them. And then
Mhm.
ultimately Dan was like, well, we want you to come back here, like come back to CMU and be a GA here. So that first year I was like half a GA for women's soccer and half a GA in strength and conditioning at CMU. And then the second year I was
Okay.
more like full time in the strength and conditioning because they got a new coach and they kind of just pulled me that way. But
Mhm.
that's kind of ultimately how I stayed in soccer. I felt like that was really the only thing I knew I like truly loved and cared
Mhm.
about. And it was really important for me and still is. Like I want to love
Okay.
my job. I don't want to go to like a
Yeah.
9 to 5 job that is just about money or that sort of thing.
Yeah. And it's just stressful and you're in a cubicle and it's just miserable and Yeah, I couldn't do that either. Even though like I'm teaching, it still doesn't feel like a job half the time
Yeah,
because most of the
absolutely.
time I'm just laughing and having a good time, especially
Yeah.
with the coaching. So you GA'd at CMU for 2 years. What'd you do after that?
And then I did not necessarily got away from soccer, but I actually got a job at Mizzou. I was working in the College of Education, and I coached at Hickman for just 1 year. Under Will at the time, I was an assistant at Hickman, and
Mhm.
that was a lot of fun. I liked my job at MUOK. It was kind of like obviously like pretty good money. I like the people I work with, but like the actual job I was doing, like kind of how I just described, like I didn't really care about it. Like it was just I was going to
Mhm.
work, like to work. It was a paycheck. And
Yeah.
then I got Dan at CMU. He got a call from a coach in Oklahoma that they were looking a junior college, and they were looking for an assistant coach. And he called me and was like, "Hey, would you be interested in this?" And it was crazy because like I didn't know a single thing really about junior colleges. Like I never
Yeah.
explored that avenue. I didn't know really anything about them. But I went down there for an interview. I met the coach, and it was just, it felt good. It felt like kind of a, obviously a better job than I was doing at MU. But it is crazy.
Mhm.
Like that's how important it was to me because obviously an assistant coach at a junior college in a tiny town in Oklahoma, like I
Yeah.
took a big pay cut from working at
Oh, yeah.
Mizzou to go
Yeah,
do that.
it was like what was it? Like, probably like a 10 grand stipend, if that, and they
Yeah, it
gave
was
you a
just
place
a
to
little
live?
more than that, but
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
it was like, it was good that I obviously had some savings from working the job at Mizzou, but
yeah. So I've looked at a couple of, like, JUCO jobs because I kinda figured coming from a high school coach to that JUCO's probably the route to look for, but, man, they don't make any money, like, as
yeah,
an
it's
assistant.
hard, like, yeah, it's hard.
I don't know how they make it I don't know how they make it work. Those people are saints for the work that they put in and
Yeah,
the
the
low
nice
pay that they
where
get.
I was at, like, you got paid, like, decent.
Mhm.
And the school owned like a whole lot of houses, which made it like really cheap to live down there. So
Okay,
me and two other assistants lived in a house together. And so our bills and stuff were like next to nothing, which
okay,
which helped. But that's obviously not the case everywhere you go.
yeah. And how long were you there?
I was at Northern Oklahoma College, which is in Tonkawa, Oklahoma, which is like
Mhm.
an hour south of Wichita.
Yeah,
And I was there for like a year and a half. I was there 2 seasons.
okay. Yeah, and then so after you went there, when did the William Woods job come up? Was
That's where
William Woods
I went straight from there to Woods. So that was
okay,
in um 2018, I think. I got the job at Woods like winter, like
yeah,
January, February of 2018.
okay,
And yeah, it was just I had definitely been looking at jobs, mostly like assistant kind of jobs at other places because I was the
mhm,
assistant at the junior college. So just looking for assistants at like 4-year schools.
mhm,
And I had applied for a couple jobs, but didn't get interviews or didn't get really looked
mhm,
at. And then my really good friend, she was the head athletic trainer at William Woods. And she
mhm,
kind of like heard through the grapevine that the previous coach was leaving. And so she told me, like, hey, get your resume ready, like, get everything ready to go.
yeah,
And so I did. Um, I got an interview, then got the in-person interview on campus.
mhm,
Met the players. They asked questions. The assistants and GAs they had at William Woods, and
mhm,
so that's kind of how I got the job. Obviously, like the connection helped a big time, but
mhm.
you do have to have like the resume,
Oh, yeah,
some
absolutely.
stuff to like back up the connection. But I
Yeah,
truly think like who you know and those connections like
mhm.
really help you out for sure.
Oh, absolutely, and so when you I mean, this would be your first ever official head coaching job,
Yeah.
right, of a 4-year program. What were like, obviously, like, what's day 1 like? Like, they throw you in an office and they say, "Alright, you're the head coach." Like, what's the first thing you've gotta do?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at that time, especially coming in the winter, it was like a lot of recruiting
Okay.
because the previous coach, I kind of knew he left. There was two players signed. They were both like good players, which was very helpful. But it was like, I think my first day was obviously like a Monday. And I think on Tuesday, if I remember correctly, sometime that very first week, I went to one of those players. She was from the Kansas City area. She had like her high school signing. So I went there and I'm like, hey, like I'm your brand new coach at this signing.
I didn't recruit you, but I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but that was a really good player for us. She stayed 5 years at William Woods.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was that first year. It was a lot of recruiting. I used my connections. I was talking to high school coaches in the area, just saying like, hey, we need players, we need people. So right away, a lot of recruiting, and then just like learning the job. Obviously, like you said, you're thrown in there, and again, like obviously I played at an NAIA school, small school, but as a coach, like the day-to-day things, you don't really know a lot of it. It was so funny that very first year at William Woods, like right before preseason, like they have to go through, all your students obviously have to go through an eligibility process. And I remember the golf coach being like, hey, did all your girls get through like play in AI? And I was like, like, I don't know. I better check on that. And then like
I remember having to do that.
Up, and I had like half my team never even like registered on it. And I was like, sweet, like I didn't know about it. Not necessarily like that, kind of goes both ways. Like, can we help and train new coaches maybe like a little bit better? But yeah, we got them all through it. I think maybe one or two players missed like a first scrimmage, but it worked out. But that was something that's like, like just being very first new coach. Like I was like, yeah, that's really important.
Yeah. So they didn't give you like a blueprint or like things you had to do? It was just kind of like, here you go. Like,
yeah, like it was just like, obviously like learning from other people and like just asking like a ton of questions, but it's like some stuff, like if you don't know about it, you don't even know to ask questions.
Okay.
And that's like something like, who knows if they had that, like when I played at CMU, like I don't even know if that like eligibility, I'm sure they had some kind of eligibility system. I just don't remember doing it or what it was. And so, yeah, it was more just like, learn as you go. It was definitely very much like I would have like to-do lists and be like, I need to get these, 8 to 10 things done. And very quickly I learned as a coach, it was like so many things pop up. Like, you need to get this done, or I need to come have a meeting. And it would be like, okay, maybe you got 2 or 3 things done. And then like 17 other things were added that you didn't know. And so it wasn't always like, you weren't able to like plan or put things in like certain silos and stuff like that. It was just like, you kind of had to, and that was very much like the first couple years. And I learned how to be a little bit more organized, but it'd be like, I would plan for XYZ to get done, and you didn't even touch that stuff. Sometimes.
Wow. And of course, like, as a head coach too, there's always problems that arise out of nowhere, whether it's drama or an injury or ineligible because of grades or there's always something that pops up every day for sure.
Right.
And so obviously, like, you've had a couple years under your belt, and you're starting to go into, after a couple of years, you guys are starting to have a little bit more success as well. You're winning games, you're being competitive. So when you're off, recruiting and looking for players, high school players, even club players, what are things that you're looking for these kids to be able to do? Is it technical ability? Is it speed? Is it, other like communication? What are some of the things that like you pinpoint when you're looking for a, potential player?
Yeah, it's absolutely like a mix of all the things you said. I think all those things. And then also specifically, sometimes you're looking for a very specific like position player, I think the easiest example of that is like a goalie. You can't really in the college game necessarily make a field player into a goalie, where sometimes players in the field can obviously play multiple positions and stuff. So there's some flexibility there, but definitely position wise kind of goes into it. Like the players you lose each year, figuring that out. But then, like recruiting, The biggest things, like it's very easy to sometimes spot, really technical players or kind of game changers, like some of those best players on teams, like you should be able to like spot those players pretty well and know and see their talents. So sometimes, like the stuff you said, some of the small things that are hard to coach sometimes, especially when you get to the college game, or like you should already have it, like you said, communication. If there's players on the field, whether it's high school or club, and they are communicating so much to their teammates, I love that, because especially in the women's game, you might have some quieter people, but on the field, that's different. If they can already communicate so much and are comfortable that way, that's huge, especially when you bring them into your training session, like on a recruit visit or something. And if they are comfortable communicating to players that are not their teammate yet, players that some of them are 3-4 years older than them, like that to me is so fantastic, that they have confidence in their ability to communicate. So that's huge. And then like the other things that you said, like if we need a goal scorer, I need to see, it doesn't, like, you don't have to score goals when I'm necessarily recruiting you, but like taking chances, taking shots. Are you playing good balls up top? Are you making the right runs to put yourself in a position, even if the ball maybe doesn't get to you, but just seeing those skills and like the capability is important.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that, obviously, like when you're recruiting, you're looking for specific positions or anything like that. But the communication thing, and I've heard multiple podcasts and multiple interviews with coaches, and a lot of them are saying that the communication aspect is honestly the biggest thing that they look for. Because a
it's
lot of
really
times,
hard to coach. Like you can say like you need to communicate or like give good direction, but if that comes natural, like if they've been doing it from a young age, like it really is a big advantage.
Oh, yeah. And I think a lot of times too, the kids that are communicating the most are probably the easiest to coach, because they're seeing the game, they're communicating what they see in game, that whenever you come in, give them like, hey, you need to be doing this, or you need to be making this run. I feel like the ones that communicate the most are also the easiest to coach, because they take feedback a lot more, because they're giving feedback as well.
Right.
So, I mean, just that's whenever I talk to any of the girls that I coach, or even guys that I coach, communication is always the hardest thing to teach, because a lot of kids maybe don't have that confidence, or maybe from a young age they had a coach that was more of a talker, did the talking for them.
That's true. Yeah.
And so whenever you're coaching, what kind of a coach are you? Are you a yeller? Are you a screamer? Are you a antics? Or are you more of a sit and watch and then we communicate at halftime kind of coach? What kind of coach are you?
Yeah, I would definitely say I'm not a yeller. Like I'm not like screaming across the field to tell like one player to do something. Like if that kind of message needs to get over there, like I probably will tell someone closer to our sideline, like, hey, tell Sarah to like, can she try it this way? Or like, give some of those closer players, like actually the players that are on the coach's side probably do get more coaching from me, because I'm not someone that's screaming and yelling. Like I will help them out, or, with little things, but it's more, doing a lot in training and like really preparing for specific opponents, and then letting them go out and do that work. I definitely take notes during games, so I have talking points for halftime or things that need to be changed. In the women's game, I don't think I can make like 10 coaching points or 10 changes at halftime. Like that's overwhelming. So just picking out little things that are really important that hopefully can help our team be more successful. But not a yeller. If I'm yelling, hopefully it's like positive things. I get very excited when, really good passing sequences or whatever we do in practice, if it like really is translating in a game, that's what makes me really excited in a positive way. I get really excited when we score, or even players that make a big impact, that maybe they're a freshman or they're a newcomer to our team, and someone scores their first goal or something like that. Those moments are like really cool.
I love whenever, you're going out there and maybe there's a combination or a play or even just a drill that you've done in practice and you see them do it in game. That's like one of the best moments of my entire life. Like we used to do these little like crossing finishing drills at Moberly, and like we scored a couple of goals like that this year, and even got to the point where the girls would look at us, like the coaches, and be like, oh, we did that at practice yesterday.
Yeah.
And like they love that, because then you're like, hey, yeah, I know the reason why we practice this stuff is because it works. Like it's actually a real thing. So I love that. And one thing that you pointed out, whenever you talk to the people that are on your sideline and you have them relay the message to another player, what you're also doing is you're giving that player that you're communicating with to communicate to their teammate. You're giving them a little bit of more, hey, this is what I need. I need you to go tell Sarah this. And now that player has the confidence to go talk to their own teammate about things like that. And now they're learning as well, not just from being there. So
absolutely. I think me as a coach, especially at Woods, this like really started. We had really high expectations, like player to player. And like, I was very much okay with my players enforcing those expectations to each other. Obviously not in like a demeaning way or a negative way, but I was very much okay with my players being like, hey, pass that ball to my feet, or whatever it needed to be, like to have those expectations of each other, and it be very much like the team upheld it almost more than the coaches. That makes my job so much easier. And the outcomes like got better. And even that's, I had one practice with the Columbia girls in the spring, and we were doing a little rondo kind of transition drill. And I kind of stopped them and made a coaching point, was like, hey, it can be easy. Like, can we try it this way? And then we had them get going again. And a girl kind of under her breath, like was like giving a coaching point to her teammate, but really wasn't saying it to her. And I was like, tell her that, like to me, I want it to come from the team and have those expectations of each other.
Oh, absolutely. That's huge. And I know, like, obviously, like, if you notice that, like, someone's talking under their breath or not being as loud, like, you got to give them that confidence to talk. And then you can't,
because
like,
it was nothing negative. It was just like a coaching point she was saying. And then,
and giving them that freedom to say things like that, that's just only going to build their confidence more for later on, because you're going to need those girls in big moments to potentially make changes on the fly in game for you that maybe you don't even notice.
Right.
So, and giving them that confidence is huge. So obviously, like, you've been coaching now for a while. Like you said, you spent 7 years there at William Woods, and now you're at Columbia College. What's one of the biggest challenges that you've had to deal with, and how did you overcome it whenever you've been through a coach? Like, has there been any situation or anything like that? Like, what's been one of the biggest challenges of being a coach?
Yeah, I think they've changed, like, as I've gotten more experience. I would say early on, probably the first couple years, was a lot of like imposter syndrome type stuff, like a lot of like comparison of me to other coaches, and oh, this coach does it this way, like, so we should be doing that. Or watching, whether it was like going to different recruiting things or ID camps and seeing coaches do like certain drills, and once again being like, oh, we need to do that. Like, if this winning program, it's going to help us if it helps them.
Yeah.
And some of those things have helped me. And like, there's some drills that I've gotten that we've continued to do, but also knowing your team and just doing what's right for them. And then, so I think that was a big challenge early on, just kind of finding that confidence, but like the experience just helps a lot with that, for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I was talking to Matthew Pritchett. He's the head coach here at Pembroke Hill in Kansas City. And he said that soccer coaches or coaching is one of the biggest thieving professions there is. Everybody's stealing something from everybody else. Everyone's taking ideas, whether it's a YouTube drill or some warm up that you saw. Like, coaches are always taking things from each other, and some things work for one program may not work for yours.
Yeah.
Like, it's tough, especially when we're talking like, at the NAIA level of college coaching. If I go and watch an interview with like the Stanford coach, And then I try to compare that to like Columbia College or William Woods. They're not the same thing because they're two
Yeah,
completely
exactly.
different programs, different resources, all of that. So you can only take so much from other coaches that are going to work on both programs for
Right.
sure. So what's been one of your biggest things that you've stolen from somebody that you use now? Maybe it's a quote, maybe it's something. I mean, you
Mm,
don't have to like tell me too much, but what's something that maybe you've taken that you use now that you took from someone else?
yeah, the biggest one is probably drills. And one drill
Mm-hmm.
that has like stayed with me, and it wasn't probably super early on. It was probably maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I
Mm-hmm.
was at an ID camp up in Kansas City, and it had a lot of like bigger schools there. And the KU coach was doing this one. It was like a transition drill, but involved shooting. And
Mm-hmm.
to this day, I call that drill the KU drill. Like, I don't even know if it has maybe like a specific name, but we call
Okay.
it that. And even at Woods, like in training, I could say like, "Hey, we're doing the KU drill," and the girls would know what that was. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
so probably more so drills like that. I
Mm-hmm.
can't say that I have like a quote in mind that I could just
Yeah.
throw out, but
Okay. So obviously, just for a couple of things of people that are listening, if they're high school kids or even like a mom. So if we're a high school kid, trying to get recruited to go play college at the next level, go and play soccer at the next level, what are some things that those kids need to be doing now to make sure they get a leg up to get recruited? Whether it's, I mean, is it video? Is it emailing coaches? Is it ID camps? What's something that kids can be doing right now to get a leg up to get
yeah.
recruited?
I think communication is really important. And obviously, at the different levels, that kind of means different things.
Mm-hmm.
So, at our level at an NAIA school, you can communicate to those coaches at any time, and we can
Yeah.
communicate back to you, which I think is something some people don't know. Like
Mm-hmm.
at the NCAA, especially D1 level, those coaches, you have to be the summer between your sophomore and junior year, I think June 15th. Like they have like
Mm-hmm.
a very strict timeline of when they can communicate. So I think understanding and knowing the differences and having an idea of hopefully, your level of play and like what your goals are.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, communication is huge. Like sending those emails or attending, like most schools nowadays have some sort of form of ID camp.
Mm-hmm.
So talking to those coaches early on, attending those ID camps, because at like a smaller school, those AD camps are probably a little bit smaller level, a little bit more intimate. There's
Mm-hmm.
not 50 to 100 kids there,
Yeah.
So just kind of building those relationships,
Mm-hmm.
finding out what you want, like what you want to study. But yeah, communication is huge in the recruiting process. And as a head coach, like I really want players to be honest with me. Like if I
Mm-hmm.
go to a big tournament and I have, 20 players I'm emailing, I'm not sending, this is the way I do it. I'm not sending like a mass email.
Mm-hmm.
Some parts of that email will be the same, but there's at least a paragraph, 3 or 4 sentences, like about that player, what I saw, whether it was like, hey, your work rate off the ball, you were really trying to get open. That
Mm-hmm.
impressed me. Like, hey, you had this beautiful left-footed cross.
Mm-hmm.
I try to put something in there that's very much like what I took away from watching them.
Yeah.
And I want them to tell me, like, I actually love it when someone's honest and they're like, hey, I'm actually really looking at these 3 or 4 D2 schools, this D1 school. Like that's really my goal. Like I'm going down that path. And I
Yeah.
say, thank you so much. Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't, just as much as like, I don't want to waste their time. Like it goes both ways.
Yeah.
So that communication is big. I know it's hard sometimes to tell a coach no, right? People have a big fear of disappointment, but if we're going through that major recruiting process and we've offered you a scholarship or that sort of thing, or maybe it hasn't gotten to that point, but being honest and saying like, hey, I'm looking elsewhere. Again, we don't want our time to be wasted as much as they don't. So I
Yeah.
think being honest in those responses and in that communication is really helpful along the line. And hopefully the coach is doing the same thing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if
Mm-hmm.
we get emails of players that we don't think can play at our level, like I'm going to tell someone that instead of like, keeping them on a string and then
Yeah.
it's not worth it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So obviously we're getting to the end here. So What's some advice that you would give to, maybe a person who's looking to become a head college coach, or maybe is in their first or second year? What's some advice that you would give to them that you kind of wish that you were given?
Yeah, I just think, like, number one, it is an amazing, fun job. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, maybe not every aspect of it or every single day, but it is a profession that I feel like I'm very lucky and like blessed to be in, to say I'm a college soccer coach. Like, a lot of
Hmm.
times when I say that, people will be like, well, what else do you do? Do you like teach classes? Do you do this? I'm like, no, like, that's my job. And
Yeah.
I think it surprises some people, but yeah, I think just knowing, like, doing it for the right reasons, doing it for like your love of the game and wanting
Hmm.
to influence players, make them better people, kind of all aspects of that. And then I
Hmm.
think sometimes people get into it and they think like, you know, oh, this just isn't enough money. Like, you
Hmm.
and I can both say, like, especially you being a public educator, like, yeah, it's not, if you're getting into this career to hopefully like make the most money, like, it's the
Yeah.
wrong career.
Yeah. It's never going to happen.
No, like, you have to do it for the love of the game, the love of the people, the recruiting, the
Hmm.
aspects of it.
Yeah.
And that has to be enough to like fulfill your cup,
Yeah.
because if it doesn't, like, it's not going to be enough for you. So I think just definitely doing it for the right reasons, or learning that about yourself kind of as you go. And
Hmm.
then just the relationship kind of aspect of it, learning from other coaches, taking advice, whether you necessarily agree with the advice maybe you're given at a time, but um, just really like learning as you go, like
Yeah.
learning new drills, different philosophies, different things like that. Being just a real learner of the game, I think, is huge.
Yeah. No, that was great. So, coach, is there anything you want to plug? Maybe your email, maybe do you have an ID camp? What's some way that somebody can reach out to you?
Yeah, we just made a new Instagram for the
Okay.
women's only. They used to share an Instagram, so we have a
Okay.
brand new Instagram. Don't judge. There's one post so far.
What's the
But
at? What's the name?
it's just Columbia College WSOC
Okay.
is the Instagram. And
Is that
then, yeah,
on
I have an
Twitter as well?
email. Um, that's either on our website, Columbia Cougars, or my email is just lrobb@ccis.edu. But yeah, we're
Awesome.
hopefully get a lot more content. Like, once our girls come back in August
Hmm.
on Instagram, we're going to introduce all of our new players, and just,
Perfect.
that's obviously a tool to connect to a lot of
Hmm.
this generation. So
Yeah,
I
it's the
think
younger
trying to
generation.
be better on
Yeah.
there is a
They
goal.
love the TikToks and they love the Instagram reel. They love
Oh
all
yeah,
that stuff. So
which I'm not good at, but it's a goal to get
hey,
better
you
and
gotta find
figure
a
it out.
young GA to do it for you.
Yeah,
Somebody in like video design or something. So
yeah,
well, hey, Lauren, thank you so much for doing this. This was super insightful, and this was just a great time. So thank you so much for joining us.
yeah. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks a lot. You too.